It says, want to make a perfume ad with me? And if you don't understand that, you will understand it when I answer this next question. Heat wave. Heat nodded, as did Rook. They turned to face each other, and she was a little startled by his proximity, but didn't pull back. Nose to nose with him in the heat, she held his gaze and watched the dance of reflected sunlight playing off his eyes. And then she blinked. Oh shit, she thought. What was that? I can't be attracted to this guy. No way. And what was with that business back there on the balcony, pulling up next to her like some perfume ad in Vanity Fair? Those ads that promise the kind of love that life just never seems to deliver. Heat watched her lean in close to whisper, pressing her D-cups right against him. He didn't step back either. What was Rick doing? Making perfume ads with every damn woman in the city? Lamb jerked to his feet, and Hero strode from behind the fortress of his desk to face her. This was definitely not going to be a perfume ad. Heatwave, pick up a copy. Amazing. My favorite part was the hand margaritas stuff, like, right before it. I was actually reading that on the bus. I was like, what? Is this really gonna happen? And I was like freaking out, and people on the bus were like looking at me and like looking at the cover, and they were like, is this girl reading porn? And I totally was. This is a dangerous question to ask me because I do have a list. First is the cast. Yes, I love Nathan. He's why I started watching the show. I'm also a huge fan of Stana's. I think Molly Quinn is beautiful and adorable and an amazing actress. And I find the play between John and Seamus just fantastic. I think everyone is a reason to watch the show, and they're phenomenal. They work really well together, and they're really funny. And they're really gorgeous people. Like, I can make graphics of them all damn day long. And I have. Number 2 is the writing. Especially if you've read the scripts. There was a leak of the pilot, and it was like reading a fantastic book. There's just so much more going on than just the murder stories. It just translates beautifully from the page to the screen. Number 3 is the cinematography. The filming is gorgeous, especially for the first episode. The colors are so crisp and everything. The lighting is beautiful and everything's, even the murder scenes are beautiful. It's fantastic and I love it. Number 4 is the realism. I think Castle is so precise at nailing reality. Case in point, they go to knock down the guy's door and arrest him for murder. They bust down the door and they're like, oh, we're here to arrest this guy. And then they're like, where is he? And then he comes back and he's carrying like groceries. Oh, I just love it so much. The comedy. Castle is incredibly funny. That's real. Cops crack jokes. It's not just like, oh, serious police work. Oh, there's another body. Oh, no. They have to make jokes because otherwise the job will kill you. And that's just very real. They'd all be like kind of having fun with it. Although there is still that very serious tone, you know, and Beckett has to talk to the family members. Number 6 is the characters. And this is just a no-brainer. The characters are so well developed. Like stuff that goes on with Alexis and her life, boy troubles, stuff that goes on with Martha trying to get jobs, and her guy troubles too. Signing up on Facebook was brilliant. That's exactly what people of that generation are like on Facebook. They just don't know what to do with themselves. They're like, oh, friend request. Oh, should I accept this person's friend request? It's like, you should not be on Facebook. I love you this much. After I graduate, you and I are gonna look for jobs somewhere near the southern edge of Connecticut. I'm thinking Stamford. It'll be a quick ride into the city so that you can audition for TV shows and soap operas or SVU if you want. I'll be maybe working for the Red Cross, maybe editing or publishing. I don't really know what I'm gonna do, but I'll figure it out. Build up our resumes. Someday you're gonna be running your own damn show, and I'll be either a talent agent or I don't even care what. I actually wrote a Castle How I Met Your Mother crossover. Castle and Beckett, you know, waltz into MacLaren's. There was a murder around there, and you know, they find out that she was at MacLaren, so they go to MacLaren's to try to talk to some people. The bartender's like, oh, well, she was talking to one of our regulars, Barney Stinson over there. And of course, he's like hitting on Beckett and like trying to pick her up and stuff. She's very professional, but at the same time, she's also kind of likes him a little bit. Castle's getting really protective and really upset, and he's like, oh, this guy's such a dirtbag. Oh, we should leave. Barney didn't have anything to do with this murder. And so they leave. And Cass is all like huffy and puffy in the car. And he's like getting all pissed off. He's like, oh, you're not really gonna call him. He's such a jerk. She's like, well, you're a jerk. And he's like, no, I'm better than him. And there's a lot of references to like Dr. Horrible and the commentary and How I Met Your Mother and Castle. It's all sort of wrapped up in one. I was actually inspired by someone else who had written a How I Met Your Mother Castle crossover, but it was sort of the opposite. Castle was being interviewed by Robin. That was like one of her first things that she had done getting into the business, so she interviewed him about his books, and they sort of like run into each other, and Barney's like all pissed off about it, and Lily's like, he's a womanizing jerk, you're a womanizing jerk, you'd probably get along, and I strongly recommend it. Any How I Met Your Mother Castle crossover would be fantastic. I mean, they both take place in New York. I mean, they could run into each other. If they were to run into Barney Stinson, he would stir up some trouble with Castle and Beckett. It's the classic Nathan versus Neil dispute, like in Dr. Horrible, so that would just be phenomenal, and I would really enjoy that. You're cute. I would probably choose something like Because by the Beatles. It's a really great song to sing a cappella. Realistically, because I know I'm not going to make it, I would probably pick a song by McCall Talbot or Zach Berkman just to get them more television exposure. McCall's song Weather the Storm or something from Sky with Stars because I love that album to death. Zach Berkman, Rainy Day, Before You Move Your Lips, or Start a New Day / Never Look Back. In terms of collaboration, I think my favorite Disney movie would be WALL-E. In terms of the classics, possibly Beauty and the Beast, just because I love Lumiere. I forget the clock's name. Whatever the clock's name is, I love that guy too. Tom, I love you. I know exactly why you're asking me this question. The funny thing is, I actually wish I had written the song. I wish I'd written it first, because I think that's a great song. This is pretty obvious. Everything You Ever is my favorite Dr. Horrible song. The music is just perfect and the lyrics work so well. It's one of those songs that like just crawls deep inside you and you can't get over it, and that would be Everything You Ever for me.
Here's the story of a girl who grew up lost and lonely, thinking love was fairy tale and trouble was made only for me. Even in the darkness, every color can be found, and every day of rain brings water flowing into things growing in the ground. Grief replaced with pity for a city barely coping. Dreams are easy to achieve if hope is all I'm hoping to be. Anytime you hurt, there's one who has it worse around, and every drop of rain will keep you growing. Seeds you're sowing in the ground. So keep your head up, Billy Buddy.
The best comparison that I can make is Rick Hurst and Nancy Lee Grahn from General Hospital, who played Rick and Alexis. The Rick and Alexis storyline was almost exactly like the Castle and Becky storyline, and they were so funny. It was basically, you know, Rick saying, you want me, and Alexis was like, no I don't, but she totally did. There was like a lot of arguing and then a lot of like hot making out. It was fantastic. Nathan and Stana certainly have that same chemistry. They play it perfectly. You know, I think Stana is amazing at playing. I secretly am a huge fan of this guy, but because he's such a jerk, I never want to let him know how much, but at the same time, she totally wants him. I think Nathan does a great job being the big jerk who's also really lovable, which is not an easy thing to do. Here's my school, and I live right here in this building. Okay, now we're late. Now we're late.
Well, it's your fault because you didn't buy a gift.
My fault? You could have come right out and told me that I was already covered. You didn't have to tease me into like a temptation or some kind of a seduction thing.
Something tells me you didn't mind it.
We'll argue about this in the car. And you don't sit by me in the car, you sit in the back seat.
Oh!
Go!